Okay, final part to the assemblies and ecstasy section. Yeah, so this is all important stuff. I hope you've got that. Right? This is a new theory of democracy, something new on the table, something genuinely innovative for the 21st century. It's not going to produce utopia, but it's going to produce something massively better than the hell we've got at the moment. You've got to bring this through the context of the revolutionary process. You've got to be out there pushing it. It's got to be like a weapon of the revolution, as it were. And it's got to actually do what it says on the tin in terms of its internal structures. The assembly is a very particular space, right? And it has to be done well. So there's no point just throwing assemblies out. Yeah, do an assembly, and they basically turn into a shouting match, disorganized, don't start on time, people go off on different, just a chaos. And through all these episodes, you'll have noticed, and I'm sure you're familiar by now, is a revolution in the 21st century is fundamentally about a transformation in the culture of the social space, right? It's not hierarchical, top down, you do this, otherwise, these nasty things will happen to you. But at the same time, it's not a chaotic, horizontalist, everyone does their own thing, don't tell me what to do, I'm my own, sort of individual. These are mirror images of each other, as I'm sure you can see, right? You've got the chaos of hierarchical individualism and you've got the chaos of horizontalist individualism. What we move towards is this sociability paradigm, right? This key word. And what I'm going to be talking about for the next 20 minutes is you'll be familiar with it by this time if you've been listening to my episodes. There's rules of thumb about how you bring people together. And really, the People's Assembly and the Citizens' Assembly is really a different site of sociability, right? It's as simple as that. It has the same general rules of thumb. So I want to start off just by, in a way, just continuing the theme of what I was talking about in part 3, which is this notion of being explicit, that this is a revolutionary proposition, a revolutionary process, that the assembly, the People's Assembly, the Citizens' Assembly, is a way of manufacturing the people a new common sense, a new consensus, which is the already existing consensus, but it can't speak because of this overbearing regime, this cultural psychological regime of the neoliberal construction, right? The system is what it is, you can't change it. And as we were saying in the last episode, like, part 3 is this isn't enforced by, in some simplistic, vulgar Marxist way by the ruling class, hitting people over the head. It's enforced by the left itself through its reformist defeatism, by its you can't change it, it never will change. And that's really bad, What more can I say? So in terms of what this concretely means in a particular time and space, you have this assembly. People come into the room, right? So the reformist paradigm is to go, we're going to pretend that we're just part of the existing system, right? This emperor without closed system. We want to change things in our local authority. We want to change things on the budgeting of our council. We want to make up some nice things to tell the government because we're all working together and everyone's welcome and we're all going to sit down and we can have this nice civilized, liberal bourgeois sort of like conversation. Isn't that lovely? No, what we're saying is we're going to stand up at the beginning of the assembly and we're going to say something along the lines of, what we know, and what we all know is this system is finished. Maybe you don't think it's actually finished yet, but it's in massive trouble. And the reasons it's in massive trouble are for 2 reasons. because the rich are running off with the money, there's no money for anything, and secondly, they're putting carbon into the air, and God knows what that's going to do, but it's going to be hell for our kids. You see what I mean? So I've just described the two main dynamics of pre-revolutionary mobilisation, right? These interconnected dynamics between end of the month, end of the world situation. But I put it in a populist language. I put it in a language that everyone knows. I'm not talking about, some sort of Marxist phraseology. That's number one. Number two is I'm not telling people what they need to think, and what they need to think is what I think. I think this, I am right, and you need to know this, right? It's more like I'm reminding them of what they already know, or they're on the cusp of knowing, and they're on the cusp of realising, because this is a pre-revolutionary period in human history. The system is going to collapse, and everyone's sort of like going, oh yeah, it sort of is, isn't it? And therefore, right? And therefore we brought this assembly together. And at the same time, right, notice, and at the same time, you are autonomous in this space. You will be respected in this space, and you will be listened to, and we will ensure that will happen, so that you collectively can come together and decide what you want, right? So maybe you do want to, support the Tory government, God forbid, right? If you do, then that's so be it, right? We're not here to tell you what to think, but we're being honest with you. We're being honest with you about what we think, and dare we say it, we're pretty sure you're thinking something similar, right? But if you're not, that's fine. But if you are, let's acknowledge it, okay? In other words, like, this isn't a top-down, far-left, Leninist routine, revolutionary. If you don't agree with us, we're going to break your legs afterwards sort of thing, right? But it's not a neoliberal democracy space. We're all friends here, society's trundling along, and we're going to be putting these ideas forward to the government in a nice consensus way. That's all fact, and everyone knows it's fact. So the pseudo respect of neutrality isn't respect at all, right? It's an enforcement of the existing domination regime, as Foucault would say. Showing respect to people is going, this is where we are, this is what we think, but you're independent, you do your thing, and you will feed it into the broader system. And the key dynamic is it's not manipulative, it's honest, it's authentic, it is what it is. And this is, talked about this in a few episodes, is a revolution will be authentic or it'll be nothing, right? The essence of reaction is the process of manipulation of people in order to get them to adhere and submit to your ideology, whether that's the ideology of capital or it's the ideology of some authoritarian leftist sort of situation. All right. And then you throw in a joke line, right? Always end with a joke, As I said, we're not going to break your legs, something like that, because then it shows depreciation, because we're just having a chat, right? When you have a chat with someone in a sociability context, you use self-depreciation all the time. Maybe I'm an idiot. People laugh. They don't want some flat bureaucratic routine, and they don't want some top-down, far left routine. What they want is, here's Roger Hallam. Oh, right, he's being honest. Okay, fair enough. I don't actually agree with him, but fair enough, because he's being honest and authentic, right? So, I've just had an argument with one or two of my colleagues, as it were, this week about this. Is we need to have the confidence of our own beliefs, and that's actualized by saying in the assembly who we are. I'm mentioning that word revolution because that word revolution is the pathway to liberation, and you need to introduce it at some point. It's pre-revolutionary period, so bloody get on with it, right? Life goes on. Yeah, so I'm going on about this a little bit because, as I mentioned in the last episode, I've watched one or two videos by Mark Fisher. This sort of theorist of late capitalism, or one of these academic type guys, but he's really good. And so you might want to watch this. I think it's called DIY Conference, and it's about 20 minutes in on YouTube. And what he's saying is like, the right have this ideology, they're clear about what they want to create. It's individualism, it's the free market, it's, the the imperialism of capital, as we would call it, right? It's like, this is the new world, conform, and we're going to force it on you, and tough if you don't like it. And what the left does is, because they're into all this like postmodernist bollocks, right? They're always going, well, you know, this is what we believe, but maybe it's not correct. You know, maybe we need to discuss it. Maybe we just need to suggest it and let people talk about it a little bit. You know. And we're talking, as Mark Fisher says, it's like, no, you know, there's fundamentals, there's equality, there's solidarity, right? There's freedom. These are non-negotiables. These are things which people absolutely want. And we've got a program, and we need to be confident about saying it. You know, the fucking world's going, right? It's gone. It's going to be, this is all done. We need to create the next world, and the next world needs to look like this. And people need to be led in that sense, right? But as he says, like, this doesn't go, it's nuanced. It's not going to an abusive, aggressive, Leninist, break your legs situation, right? But it is like, it's self-respecting. I'm Roger Hallam. This is what I believe. And people will respect that. Okay, so there's variations on the theme. How does this fit in to what you might call the timeline and the micro design of the assemblies? We've done the macro design, you know, this is really important stuff, this big strategy. But it's like we're coming back to some of the early episodes just for the next 20 minutes. I'm just going to give you an outline. And obviously, if you're going to do assemblies, you're watching this and going, yeah, let's do assemblies. There's a whole bunch of information. You contact me, you know, hopefully there'll be an email at the bottom of this or something. Will there be an email? Anyway, we'll do some connection thing, and you can get in touch with people, and you can get a 60-page pack and read the micro design. But let's just remind ourselves of how do you create spaces where people can discover their collective power and enter into this ecstasy, right? This word we've used, the ecstasy, the religious, spiritual realization that they belong to a community, and this community is going to care for them, and they are powerful in that community, and they suddenly feel like what they feel they should have felt like all their life, right? Which is, you know, this optimal notion of human existence, which is, yeah, there's loads of problems, but there's people around you who are going to support you, and you're going to make your way through it. And you're going to make your way through it not as an individual, but in a sociability space where you can ask people and you do things together, and we're all in this, you know, we're all working together and blah, blah, blah. And there's going to be off days, you know, where it doesn't quite work out and all the rest of it. But it's like a big change, isn't it? From this yucks, individualism, you're on your own, mate, sort of stuff. All right, so here we go. Let's trundle our way through it. So you've got your assembly. You need to publicise the assembly, right? So a big problem here, you know, in particular at this moment in time is, you know, all your mates turn up, and, you know, all the XR people, and, you know, all your radical left type people. And it's lovely because, you know, everyone agrees with each other, and you come up with some big left-wing program. That's all fact, right? It's like, that's not what we're doing here. We're doing like popular revolution. In other words, we're not going to have a revolution worth its name if it doesn't involve the community itself, right? Which doesn't mean you need to be obsessive about it, right? You're not doing like sortition in terms of a people's assembly. In terms of a people's assembly, by the way, that's sort of broadly self-selecting, but there's a lot of agency involved in who you actually get to come into that room. So, you know, in the humanity project involved in at the moment, you know, there's like rules. This is the plan, is you've got to deliver 5,000 leaflets. You've got to put up 200 posters. You've got to do 3 stalls. You've got to contact 20 community organisations. You've got to spend like 3 hours on the phone. You know, this is the standard routine, just as we've had in Just Stop Oil. You know, you don't just invite all the sort of environmentalists in, you know, Bedford. It's like, you're getting out, you're going to talk to the churches, you're going to talk to the sports club, you're going to go to the chess club. It's like, hi guys, you know, things aren't that great. We're going to have this assembly. Here's some information about it. You know, we're going to have food. It's going to be cool. Glum and bum. You know, turn up. You know, knock on the doors. You know, oh, we're going to have this chat. You don't call it an assembly. You call it coming together. You call it a pop or something. You know, something. It's cool, right? It's something you can get your head into. It's 2 hours of your life. Why don't you come down? Okay, so there's a standard protocol of how you actually get 50 people in the room and let's say for the sake of argument, 25% of them have never been to anything like this in their life. That's the name of the game. And in Hull, hopefully I've got this right, my friends in Hull watching, but like I heard this secondhand, so maybe this isn't quite right, but it's really funny, which is they're having a stall, right? Now you think, oh yeah, there's a stall, but a stall's not a stall. A stall is 20 different things, and you can recruit, 100 people through the stall. You can recruit 3. It all depends on what you're doing. Are you standing in front? Are you standing behind? There's an episode on this. But what the guys in Hull did is, had a big board, and this has been used in Extinction Rebellion a bit, I think, as well. And they have a question. So the question used to be, what do you think about the climate crisis? And you have a sticker, do you think it's no big deal? Are you a bit worried about it? Are you quite scared? Are you shitting yourself? Well, you give the kids the stickers. They're going, oh, climate crisis. God, yeah, we're shitting ourselves, So you build up all these stickers, and they're all on this side of the graph. And obviously people are coming along going, yeah, I'm shitting myself about it as well. So you've got this cultural permission for everyone to start sticking it on there. But the main purpose of this is it provides this essential entry point into a conversation. The entry point into conversation is absolutely critical in terms of mobilization, as any salesperson knows, right? What you say in the first 10 seconds is critical. So what they did in Hull anyway is they had this big board, and I think it was something along the lines of, what's more useful to you? And they had a picture of Keir Starmer on the left. They had a picture of a potato in the middle, and Rishi Sunak, is that? Yeah, him anyway. That guy, less said, the better about him on the right. So they're in the Hull High Street, there are 1 or 2 Labour Party, full-on people put their sticker on Keir Starmer. But, 90% of people are going, a potato is more useful than these fucking politicians, So you've got this humour that everyone's putting their stickers on there. You've got the viscerality and the movement of people actually putting their sticker on, their kids putting their sticker on, you get to people through their kids. Oh, hi, put your sticker on, great. And then you're saying to people, it's like an icebreaker, right? It's like giving someone a drink, when they come to, would you like a drink? What's that got to do with anything? Nothing. It doesn't really matter. The point is it enables you to say, oh, so where are you from? So you get into conversation. So, so you think politicians are a bit shitty. Yeah, they are, aren't they? They've done nothing for us in Hull. Well, I don't know if you know, but lots of people are coming to this assembly on Thursday night. It's a big get together basically, and everyone's going to have a chat. You see what I mean? You're putting it into everyday working class language. Oh yeah. Well, let's go to yeah. I'm into that actually. Have you got a leaflet about it? I'll bring my friend. She's fed up with everything in this city. You see what I mean? So they've been doing in Hull, which I think is the holy grail of how to do this is. There's lots of postcodes, sort of my areas of Hull. Maybe it's 10,000 people in the postcode. I'm not quite sure. So they're having a series of these assemblies, and they got 70 people to turn up in a particular postcode. So you can imagine like an average sized city, a fairly small city, let's say, and you have 10 or 20 assemblies, and there's 50 people in each one. Well, that's getting somewhere, isn't it? Right. So this is the bringing people in. Okay. So you're bringing people in. If you're starting for the first time, it's going to be difficult. Maybe only 20 people are going to turn up, maybe only 10. Never know. Where you keep going. And then you bring people into room. So I've talked about your pep talk. You're bringing people in. You're honest. You're saying, we believe in revolutionary change because it's not looking that good. Maybe you don't. And I've talked about all of that. And then people are going to discuss something, right? Maybe they're going to discuss what's going on in Hull, what's going on in their lives, what's going on in politics. Maybe it's going to have a bit more framing on it. Let's look at the cost of living. Let's look at how much it costs just to live in this city. Let's look at what's happening with the whole putting carbon into the atmosphere. Notice I'm not saying cost of living. I'm not saying the climate crisis, right? These things that the BBC talks about, the media. No, let's talk about real life. Let's talk about how much it costs to live in the city. Let's talk about fear of our kids, what's going to happen to them when food runs out, blah, blah. Okay, so there's variations on the theme, but the fundamental point is people are going to split up into groups, like usual sociability model, 6 to 8 people. Maybe they're going to have a testimonies at the beginning or personal stories. So you get like 5 or 10 people. They've got an absolute limit of 2 minutes. They stand up and you say, well, I want to talk about how much it costs to speak, to live in this city. I'm at my wit's end. I didn't even have cornflakes for my kids last week. Right? People get this emotional atmosphere of just things that are just really bad and such like. Okay, so you've got your testimonies. Let's say you're going to do that at the beginning. Then you've got people into groups of 8, groups of 6. So in this episode, I'm sort of mixing up a little bit, like citizens' assemblies and people's assemblies. So just in case you're not sure, there's different words to these things, obviously. But people's assemblies are where you do this thing, like in Hull, you'd hand out leaflets. People are broadly self-selecting. They hear about it, but you're getting a pretty good demographical mix of people in the room if you do it properly. A citizens' assembly, formally speaking, is defined by this set sortition basis, where people are chosen by random from Hull, through emailing everyone, and you get these criteria, whether they're, what their background is, their gender, which area they live in, and you get this mathematically accurate selection of people. For our purposes in this episode, what we're talking about is how do people actually deliberate, right? Well, we sort of know, don't we, because we've been talking about this, but let's just go through it again, is people talk about the subject, they have a go-round, right? So you do not have a free-for-all. You've got special rules, and this is critical in terms of maintaining participatory discipline. So the paradox is you've got to have someone laying the rules down for people to be able to speak, right? That's really important. That's the big transition in these episodes. We're not saying, okay, guys, everyone have a chat about this. It's like, no, you're just going to get like people that talking the most. So you're saying, right, we're going to be in this group. Everyone's going to talk for 2 minutes about what they think about cost of living in this city. If you talk for more than 2 minutes, I'm going to shut you up, okay? No disrespect, but basically we're here to listen to each other. We're here to listen to each other. That's the critical phrase, right? We're not here to just mouth off. We're here because we want to hear about other people like us and hear their stories. So, so that's the format. You have a go round, and then potentially you have some discussion about it. Then what do people talk about? Well, I was designing this big citizens' assembly, and there's different ways of doing it. To be honest with you, a lot of the conventional citizens' assembly orientation is very cognitive, in the sense that it's like, we're going to look at this issue, we're going to look at the pros and cons, and then we're going to come out with a rational outcome, right? But we know from what we've been saying in these episodes, that's not really how human psychology works. If you want to engage with people, first of all, you want to get them to talk about themselves. It's like, so, what's your journey on the situation with the climate? When did you first hear about it? How worried are you? So people speak, and through that act of speech, they become empowered, right? Then there's a sensitization process. So in a citizen assembly, and potentially in a people's assembly as well, let's say you're talking about refugees. No, I don't really care about them. You're coming into the assembly and you're sensitized, right? Which means humanized, right? It doesn't mean you're becoming left-wing. It means you're becoming human in the sense that you're becoming connected. This is not direct democracy. It's not like, oh, do we want to get rid of refugees? Oh, they're a bit annoying, aren't they? Yeah. It's more like, okay, so let's look at this refugee situation. You're going to hear from some guy who's travelled from Somalia. And unless you're really like yucks type person, you can be going, okay, this is important, right? Yeah, there's a big problem here. This is ordinary people's lives. These are the conditions in hostels. Oh, I didn't realise they were so bad. So first of all, you're getting people's stories. So this is sensitising people to the reality of the situation. They're also talking about themselves. Okay, so that's what sensitisation. The second process, and this could take a day or it could just take 20 minutes, right? It all depends on what design you're using. The second process is about looking at the facts, because there are facts, right? People don't know about them. So this is saying, yeah, rationalism is important. There's a world out there. there's going to be 1 billion people who are going to get killed by the climate crisis. It's not 1 million, right? It's not 10 million. It's 1,000 million once we reach 2 degrees. That changes everything, doesn't it? It's like, I want you to stop watching Netflix. Why? Give me a fact. Because my bloody house is on fire. Oh, right. That changes everything. Switch the telly off. Let's get out there. The neighbour's house is on fire. You see? So you've got to have this selection of facts. And that helps, ground people. So you've got the sensitization, you've got the facts. Then what's the response? What do we actually want to see? What do we want to co-create? What needs to happen here? We want to have a rent strike. I gave this example in a previous episode. So what's the plan? What's the demand? Okay, we want to have a 40% pay. We want to have a 40% rent reduction. Okay, that's what the people have decided. Some cynical activists going, well, they'll never get that. That's not your role, right? Your role is not to be a cynical activist. Your role is to facilitate the will of the people. The people have decided they want a 40% pay cut. 40% reduction in their rent. So stuff is going to come out, and how it comes out is you've got your small group. They're going to be going, okay, what do we want to do, with the council or whatever, and this is what we want. We want, better lighting. We want free public transport. We want better youth services. Okay, but what does that actually mean? Okay, and they break it down, right? We want buses to come every 5 minutes, and they want to be free, and we want a doubling of the number of buses. Okay, you see, we get something concrete. We write that concrete stuff down. Then all the groups come back together. You've got one person speaking for each group, right? Not the bloke who's speaking most, just an ordinary person. They are going to summarise what their group wants. So in public transport, this is what our group wants. We want this, we want this, we want this. Come up with your 3 points. Write your 3 points on the board, okay? So you've got, 10 groups, you've got 30 points. Some of these points are the same. Then everyone gets up and they tick the policies that they like the most. So this is democratic, but it's seen to be democratic because you can see people writing their ticks, okay? Then you get a power law distribution of things that people want. You've got some weird guy wants something weird. No one really is interested in that. But there's 3 or 4 things that everyone wants, right? And I've done loads of these processes, and that's what's called aggregation. It's this big swarming mass of what people want, and then it comes down to the ecstasy of collective decision, right? This is when people get excited. It's not, they're getting excited because they're all talking to each other, but they get really excited where they can see something they've collectively created themselves, which looks sexy and is actually what they want. And they can see that it's what they want because they've just gone through this process of bringing it all together. So it needs a certain amount of skilled facilitation. You need to be on the ball. Some people are going to go off on various tangents. You need to do the timekeeping, blah, 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 right? You can look all that stuff up. Okay, so that's the actual assembly itself. So you've got 3 bits. You've got the design, bringing people in, making sure you get that demographical diversity. Then you've got the assembly itself. It's about listening, it's about co-creation, it's about the ecstasy of coming to the collective decision. Then what happens? In the neoliberal appropriated assembly space, that's it, guys. Thank you very much. We're sending off to the government, and guess what? They're going to do fuck all, right? What mugs you are for spending 2 days coming up with all this cool stuff, and the democracy space, as house slaves to the system, are going to go, well, we just need to wait. We just need to wait to see what they do. Subtext, you don't really count. You always knew you didn't count. And what's more is we don't have a plan for you to count, right? It's not good. Let me put it like that. The revolutionary paradigm is, guys, that's great. You've come up with these policies. Now let's go and make them real. Here's some pathways to action. And this is again, Mark Fisher's point is people need to be led at this point. They want to know what to do. I mean, they're not activists. This is where you come, okay, guys, these are the options. We're going to have a meeting on Thursday night and we're going to go leafleting or we're going to have a gathering outside the council, or we're going to have another assembly, and we're all, here's the meeting. The meeting is already there. It's organised in the assembly. So people already know it's next Thursday night at the Harris Street pub. Okay, we're meeting again, and this is what we're going to be doing. And there's these pathways. Okay, so broadly speaking, there's 4 pathways out of an assembly, in my view. I mean, there's variations on the theme. There's come and join our revolutionary project, right? We need people to do a new assembly. Are you interested in another assembly? So there's 20 people in there because, it's really hard work and not many people turned up, but they're enthusiastic in that moment in time. So 5 of them are going to go, yeah, I'll come on Thursday and we'll work on creating a bigger assembly. And the genius is, of course, is those people in the assembly, or most of them, have massively greater network connections than you do. They've lived in the area for 30 years, they know their neighbours, they know their street, they know the chess club, they know their church. So they're going to use their own credibility and connections to bring like 50 people into another one, which is going to be bigger and all the rest of it. Then there's going to be like public action. So this is critical. So I talked to some people about getting young black people in London. They're going to do an assembly. They're going to do an assembly, maybe it's on air pollution, maybe it's on lack of youth services. What are they going to do next? Well, in the neoliberal frame, it's like, thanks very much, guys. Back to the estates. Fuck that. It's like, we want to get out. Who's actually in charge of this? Who's in charge of it is the City Hall, right? Okay, we're going to go to City Hall and we're going to occupy it. That's what we're going to do. We're not going to have a big revolution. People aren't going to go to prison for 2 years, right? What we're going to do is we're going to do a 20-minute occupation. When the police arrive, we're just going to mill out. The genius of that is that, number one, they're going to ruffle a few feathers at the City Hall or whatever. But more importantly, from a strategic point of view, it's going to get on the 6 o'clock city news. And there's going to be some black kids, in some other area of the city going, hang on a minute, that was quite good. The project is called X. We're going to get, go and Google X. Oh, get in touch with them. Oh, there's going to be a Zoom call tomorrow night. Oh, there's the link. So you have the Zoom call and suddenly you've got 50 young people from around the city, young kids going, hey, we want to do this. So you can see how this civil disobedience doesn't make you irrelevant. It doesn't alienate you from the population. It's the mechanism through which you mobilise the 1% of the population that are going to have the revolutionary agenda, as you might say. So, more assemblies, public action, don't need to call it civil disobedience, don't need to use all that activist phraseology. We're just going to do something that actually works, right? Just phrase it like that. Then you're going to feed into a national assembly or a city assembly. So it's like, oh no, it's not like, oh, you've got your ideas, thanks so much, go home. It's like, no, we're going to, 4 of you who are selected from the assembly are going to write a 2-page summary of what you want and why you want it. We're going to do 5 or 6 2-minute videos. We're going to put it up on a website. And that information, those videos are going to feed into an all-city assembly in about 2 months' time, or a national assembly. And at that national assembly or city assembly, you're going to come up with the manifesto of what the people want. So, there's this assembly here and this assembly here. Then, they've broadly got the same ideas, but they've got their different quirks. And this assembly came up with a really good idea. So you're all coming together in this big city assembly. Maybe it's going to be a sortition, citizens assembly. Maybe it's just going to be a big self-selected 300 people in the room. It's all going to be a lot of fun. Different groups are going to be looking at these reports from the different assemblies. They're going to be getting testimonies, they're going to be getting witnesses. They're going to have the scientists come in and say what they're doing, the professionals. They're going to regurgitate all the issues with these inputs from the local assemblies, and they will come out with a good enough to go people's will document, right? Which is 5 points. Hey guys, this is what we want. And then that feeds into, more civil disobedience, i.e. public action. We're going to occupy the City Hall. We're going to have a big demonstration, whatever it is. We're going to have a banquet. We're going to have a party, all these things. So that's the third thing. So more assemblies, local assemblies, public action, civil disobedience, national assembly, citywide assembly, the people's will. And the fourth one is standing elections, obviously, right? Because that's a pathway to real power. So it's not like, hey, we're giving a little petition to the people in charge so they can pat us on the head. It's like, no, we're going to stand in elections against the fuckers, right? We're going to ruffle those feathers because they think the political system belongs to them. But no, it doesn't actually. We're not going to take it over. We're not going to get appropriated by it, right? Let's be clear about this. We talked about this before. The process of standing elections is twofold. Number one is, hey, I'm standing election because I can. It's a direct action. The second thing is it's a people's candidate frame, which is you actually win the election. But you don't win the election to go, oh, now I'm really famous and I'm going to get appropriated by the ruling class, as it were, go and have sherry with a local aristocrat, whatever it is. And saying, no, like I'm here as a conduit for the people's will, manifested through local assemblies, which by that stage are arguably systematised, so they have some democratic legitimacy. So you're going into Mordor, as it were. You're going into the devil's space. The corrupted representation, inverted commas, parliament. But you're going in and doing direct action. You're going in and saying, I'm speaking for the ordinary people in this town, and this is what they want. I'm blah, blah, blah. So this sort of leads us on to the plan, which I'm going to talk about in the next episode, which is how to bring all these things together. But you can see, this is how to design your assembly. But you're thinking about the assembly in this network space, within this sort of arrow of time, right? Setting it up, really important. What you say at the beginning, how you actually structure it, and then most crucially, or crucially at least, what comes after it, which is, these pathways to actual action and self-collective creation and enthusiasm and, dare I say it, ecstasy. Thanks.